But let's break down the basics of this lawsuit. 2311 Racing, owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, and Front Row Motorsports, owned by businessman Bob Jenkins, not the old NASCAR commentator Bob Jenkins, but businessman Bob Jenkins. They brought a federal antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR, accusing them of monopolistic practices. The witness list has been quite the name drop. Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan, of course, the NASCAR executives, team owners, and Jim France, finally, wrapping up this morning, the CEO of NASCAR, the son of NASCAR founder Bill France. He was called to testify. He was the last witness called by the plaintiffs and Front Row Motorsports in 2311, rested their case this morning. Now, NASCAR has begun their case, started with John Probst, the EVP and Chief Racing Development Officer. He spearheaded the next-gen car project. All of that said, you followed along closely to this trial, putting out content every day from your end. What is your overall takeaway so far?
First, I can't believe that we actually made it to this point. I always thought that this was going to settle before we got to December 1st, and it truly has not. Now we're in day 8 of it here. In terms of my takeaways from it, ultimately, nobody wins here. And I think that's kind of the general consensus. If the teams win, fans lose. The teams still are going to lose as well because the charter system likely goes away. So that's just wasted money on top of their legal fees. If NASCAR wins, then, well, fans lose again because we likely lose 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports within a year. And through all of this, the lawyers are the ones that are winning because they're getting somewhere around, close to 9 figures in fees here. But overall, so far, what the plaintiffs, that being 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, have done in presenting their case, I think they've done a really good job of presenting NASCAR as a monopoly, which that's not up for debate, right? That was already affirmed by the judge in this case, Kenneth Bell, that NASCAR is a monopoly because they are the power player in that marketplace. They control that marketplace. The question is, did they abuse their power? And I think they've done an okay job so far presenting it. I'm interested to see how the NASCAR side of things goes this afternoon on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They said that they'll be done by Friday. They'll rest their case by then. I'm interested to see how they start to structure it because so far, the Jim France testimony yesterday wasn't very good in terms of trying to combat that. But right now, I think if I was sitting on a jury, and remember, we've only been presented essentially one side at this point, the teams have done a pretty good job presenting that with what they've talked about in terms of the exclusivity of the tracks, the car, participating in NASCAR, how they've sort of structured what NASCAR has done to, maybe try to combat SRX and potential rival series. You've got the owners, Heather Gibbs, obviously part of the Gibbs ownership, Richard Childress, Bob Jenkins, all talking about how they felt they had a gun put to their head, for lack of a better term, and, being forced to sign these. So they've done a really good job of presenting that. I'm curious now how NASCAR is going to combat that through their legal team, Christopher Yates and others, as they go forward.